Around 2 years ago, I made a theory about this specific character from Subway Surfers, and I'm here today to not only revise that theory, but also expand on it. There is evidence that I've discovered that tells us more about this character and might actually reveal the secrets kept from us both in-game and in the series. And that is the only reason I'm remaking this video. And definitely not a way for me to make up for the lisp I had back in 2022 when I recorded that last video. But I bet some of you are sitting there wondering, does Subway Surfers even have lore? And the answer is yes. And trust me, it's really cool. I mean, you have secret societies, possible time travel, and a man in a bunny mask. Are you kidding? But before we do that, please do subscribe. It's free and you can always unsubscribe later. Subscribing is the best way to support my channel as it allows me to make more videos and helps me reach more milestones. So if you could just check to see that you are, that would be great. Thank you, and back to the video. Frank as a character appears in-game as one of the very few adults you can play as. His name is clearly inspired by Frank Anderson from Donnie Darko, although not quite the same guy. In the show, you see him and similar associates popping up in the background, but his main appearance happens in episode 11, Flux, where he goes into an abandoned station to catch a train. Frank goes through a somewhat lengthy process using advanced technology despite the ruins looking old. He keeps looking down at his stopwatch as though counting down to the exact second of when he'll be able to catch the train. Clearly, this is important. This is important to Frank. The ruins start glowing as his train pulls up. Finally, he's able to board, but there's a problem. The ruins were altered. You see, in order for this to work, they needed to have both ruins intact. One is fine, but the other has been vandalized by bubbly graffiti. Frank realizes this and tries to run over to fix it, using his signature spray paint of his own to try paint over it. But it's too late. The train doesn't stop, and Frank is left alone. He sees red, scanning the graffiti to see who is responsible for this, and is led to none other than Jake Bressler. Jake, as in the main character from the Subway Surfer game, one of the members of the Subway Surfer crew. I mean, surely Frank is gonna see that this is a literal child who didn't mean anything by it and not put him on a hit list, right? Frank, what the fuck? It makes you question, why is this so important to him? Why is this so important that Frank catches this train? Well, things start to make sense when you consider what type of train this is. When the train goes past, we aren't able to get a glimpse of what it looks like as it only registers as a blue blur, but in the episode Boombox, we see a brief media coverage talking about a mysterious ghost train that goes through the station. This is our first good look at the train Frank was trying to catch, and it's a steam train? That wasn't what I expected. You see, steam trains stopped being used as a major operation in the US by the 60s. Nowadays you'd only see steam trains being used as tourist attractions, which means it's likely that this ghost train comes pre-60s and at the earliest 1800s. But then why would this train and Frank be linked? He may look older than the Subway Surfers, but he doesn't look like he'd be the age where he lived through even the late 60s. Could Frank be a ghost? Well, if he was a ghost, then he wouldn't be able to interact with modern equipment, if any. And something tells me that they didn't have this level of technology before the 60s. I mean, even in the early 2000s, phones still had quite a lot of buttons. So I don't think Frank is a ghost, and frankly, I don't think the train is either, despite what the news report is trying to say. So what am I saying? Well, think back to Frank. Not our Frank, but Frank Anderson from Donnie Darko. His whole purpose is there to lead Donnie through time travel and parallel universes. Maybe the references don't just stop at the name and the suit, but a key aspect of the character. That being time travel. The train acts as a time travel device to bring from one time period to the next. You see the society that Frank works for utilizes this time travel technology in order to uphold their society. But what society am I talking about? Well, in the Subway Surfer world, there runs an organization called Infinity. Infinity is a secret organisation that uses alien technology to build their products and maintain the timeline. Looking at the different people we've seen in the society, there's definitely a hierarchy system that is being used. It's clear who gives the orders and who is stuck doing the grunt work. Now, Infinity doesn't just pop up in the show, it's actually pretty prevalent in the games. You see their little symbols on the background of some of the maps, plus the hoverboards themselves sometimes having Infinity symbols. And that's exactly how Infinity acts. They control the world from the shadows. And I think that's all the evidence I need to make my final theory. So, what is the theory here? Well, I believe that Frank was part of a recruitment system in the 50s for Infinity. They take people from separate timelines and get them to act as surveillance in other timelines. These agents are sent out with bunny masks so Infinity can easily identify their own agents. This kind of tells me that they're not a well-respected group, or they may only work temporarily. And when the contract is done, they get on their train to their original timeline. And that train was Frank's ticket back home. Unfortunately, he doesn't get another one. Considering how he was timing the event down to the last second shows that he's been waiting a while for this moment. And it was ruined by a vandalised wall. Frank takes issue with this and requests another train. However, since they won't be available, he requests something else. He requests to put a hit out on Jake for causing this. But that request will also be denied. Why? Because Infinity is watching Jake as well as the other Subway Surfers. Recently, the Subway Surfers discovered an alien technology that when Yutani put it to use, she was able to create the first hoverboard. But if Yutani is the first person to discover this technology, why does Infinity have access to it? Well, once again, this is the result of time travel. You see, when I first watched this, I thought that this was a piece of Infinity's technology and their plan was to steal it off the Subway Surfers. But then I listened to the dialogue that is said between the two Infinity workers. Another turbine recovery. Confiscate? Just observe, for now. For those who don't know, turbines essentially help turn energy into electricity. If you look at all of Infinity technology, it gives off the same glow that suggests the society thrives off this stuff, which is why they probably confiscated all the other turbines like this. But why not this one? Why would they need to observe this one in particular? Well, it's less about the turbine and more about the people who found it. They're just trying to make sure their organisation stays intact. And to do that, the crew needs to keep making discoveries about the tech. In an old theory of mine, I even suggested that adult Yutani could have founded Infinity, which is why they know the exact locations to scout out for. All of their security cameras are all set up in the exact spots that the gang hangs out in. They don't want to take the turbine off them because this is how their organisation started. Subway Surfers discovering the turbine. However, this makes the gang untouchable. Infinity needs them to make these discoveries the same way Marvel needs their canon events. It would make no sense in harming them. They can't risk these events not happening. This does not make Frank a happy bunny. This society that he's given all his time to that won't even send him back to his original timeline now won't even let him take revenge on some stupid kid that decided to spray paint a wall? Frank has had enough and decided to lead a rebellion against Infinity, taking all the other bunny masks with him so they can start a group of their own with Infinity's technology. To do so, Frank deletes any information that Infinity has on the bunny agents, essentially wiping them clean from the database whilst inside Infinity's headquarters. And now that Frank is going against Infinity, there's nothing stopping him from going after Jake, which means the Subway Surfers have gained a new enemy without them even realising it. Maybe this time around it's not the guard they should be running from. But what do you guys think? Are we onto something here? Let me know in the comments if you've got any theories of your own. I would like to thank you guys so much for watching. These videos are always fun for me to make, so it's great to know that you guys enjoy them as well. Thank you to my members. Once again, your support for my channel is why I can continue making these videos, and I appreciate it so much. But if you can't be a member, that's okay. I'm so thankful for everyone who's subscribed. Thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!